James Sutherland, Chief Executive, Cricket Australia. Questions from ACF's members. The first question comes from Lee Harrick. The new KFC Big Bash League is certainly shaping up as an exciting competition, but is it a strategic error trying to generate cross-town rivalries in Melbourne and Sydney rather than building on the existing interstate rivalries?
Look, I think it's a good point about the two teams in Sydney and two teams in Melbourne. I think what it does is actually brings out the best of both worlds. We've got fantastic state rivalries, but then we're going to have intra-city rivalries as well that's going to come from those two teams in Sydney and Melbourne. So I think it's only going to be better, and that rivalry and I guess tribalism that's going to exist in those markets is going to be we're going to see for an even better competition.
A question from Matt Trodden. It seems as though there's a large feeling of discontent in the cricket community in Australia due to a range of issues: selection, administration, possibly lack of engagement with fans. Are you at Cricket Australia aware of this? And if so, what are you doing to try and solve that problem?
I think there are peaks and troughs, I suppose, in that regard. What we're seeing is the high level of public passion, which to me equates to public interest in the game. It's actually not that long ago where we were getting feedback from the public that no one really cared about international cricket because the Australian team won all of the time. Now, what we saw out of the Ashes in 2010-11 was a disturbing Ashes loss, but we saw how much the Australian public really cared about the performance of the Australian cricket team. I take that as a real positive and something that we're acting on. There's been some important decisions that have come out of the Australian team performance review that are now being put into place, and that's augurs well for what we will see down the track as those, I guess, the effects of those decisions are implemented.
A widely held opinion is that India has excessive influence over the ICC. What strategies does Cricket Australia have in place to mitigate this influence?
Well, I think the first thing to note there really is that world cricket is so much better off for the interest that 1.2 billion Indians have in the game of cricket. The ICC is full of member countries, 10 full members, and the ICC includes in its membership Australia and India, who around the table have one vote. So that influence doesn't necessarily come to bear in that way, but obviously India is a really important part of the game because of that high level of public interest, but also I suppose the commercial aspect of the returns that come out of the Indian market. So we all need to be cognizant of that, but at the same time we appreciate the benefits of having such a high level of interest out of the Indian market.
James, a question from Stevie Lee. It's November, which is the Movember month. Cricket Australia supports Movember. Have you thought of growing a mo?
Not until then. Look, I don't think that's going to happen in the short term, but I can say that Movember is a very worthy cause, and it's certainly something that I will be, as I have in previous years, I'll be putting my energies and hard-earned cash into supporting some other people that are much more worthy of growing a mo than me.
James, a question from Baron Grant. Why is the captain a selector? Michael Clarke is obviously never going to drop himself as captain. Could you explain that?
Well, I think the Australian team performance review findings, which is a public document, can be found on our website, actually goes through a little bit of the detail. A critical aspect of that is about accountability for performance, and one of the findings was and recommendations was to find a way in which those that are close to the team and responsible for the team are also accountable for that performance. And so as an extension of that, there's a recommendation there for the captain to be a selector and the coach too. Down the track, if there are issues or concerns, heaven forbid, about the performance of the captain that is worthy of discussion and his place in the team, the simple format there would be that the captain would be excluded from those discussions, and the selection meeting would proceed without them there. Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
And finally, Ned Quealy asks, have you ever had a dislike to cricket at any point in your life?
Apart from when I've made a duck or dropped a catch or something like that. No, look, I have a great deal of passion for the game. I love cricket, and I think that it's one of the really rewarding things about my job is that I'm working on and with people that really care about the game of cricket, and certainly I'm one of those people. So the short answer is no. I continue to love the game and hope we can continue to make it better and more popular.
James Sutherland, Chief Executive Officer, Cricket Australia, thank you for taking questions from ACF members.
Thanks, Peter.